Hey everybody, this is Carolina Millan with another episode of our podcast here, and today I have a very special guest, Mr. Oh my god, do I pronounce your name correctly? Mike Maunu?
That's good. Manu.
Manu. All right. For me, it's I pronounce it the way I read it because it looks Manu. That's how you
Manu.
say it. Awesome. So Mike and I we met. Oh my God, 3 years ago at the first Funnel Hacking Live event, and this is a man that has been around for a very long time. And we started talking. At the beginning, we started talking about health and fitness, and then I realized that he had really been around in the direct sales, marketing, and business industry for decades. He has some really cool stories to share with us today. So, Mike, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time to be here. And please share a little bit with the people who may not have heard about you yet. The few people that don't know who you are, tell us how you got started in the space and what took you to where you are today.
Great. Thank you. And appreciate you giving me the time to speak today. It's been a pleasure over the last 3 years watching your journey as well, from where that first event into where you are today. It's just mind blowing what you can accomplish when you have passion and focus and you're really dedicated on helping other people. So it's really an honor to be here.
Thank you.
Yeah, like Carolina said, I've been around for decades. I'm a dinosaur in this industry. I don't know many that have been in it longer. I actually started in the direct sales space back in the mid 70s. I'll tell a little story here. I actually lied to become an Amway distributor when I was still 17. And
Wow.
started to learn those principles back in, I guess that probably would have been 1976 or 77. But I'm really thankful that I did, because I was exposed to so many great mentors at that time. And, Zig Ziglar and Dr. Norman Vincent Peale and some of the legendary people. I learned from those people early on about mindset, about direct response, about caring enough about your customers and what they want out of life so that you get all you want out of life. And that's kind of been my passion, the way I've tried to live since then. Then a few years later, I had the great opportunity to meet a gentleman that some of you may know or may not know, Dan Kennedy, the great direct response, just a literal genius. Well, at that time, Dan was in network marketing, MLM, and we shared the same mentor at that time. And a guy by the name of James Tollison. And James Tollison was the founder and CEO of Think and Grow Rich. And I think most of you have probably heard of Think and Grow Rich before. So I learned early on the great lessons, and it was very important for everything I've done since then. And from there, I was involved in a lot of different industries, very diverse, taking what I learned in one, applied it in another and another. Fast forward to the 1990s, I started a direct sales supplement company that did over $100 million a year. I sold out in the very early on and went on to other things and consulted in the industry. That company was acquired by a public company about 4 years ago. So that company was around for 20 years. And then around 1997, I heard of this thing called the World Wide Web.
Whoa.
And I said, hey, there might be something here. I need to check this out, because when you're in the space I was in the direct sales industry, you had to deal with all the regulators from 50 states. So 49 states, they could say, hey, you're great. And I can see your smile on your face there, Carolina. You understand what I'm talking about here. And anyone that's been around long enough understands that these are the challenges that companies go through, even with great products and great customer support. You are cool with 49 states, and one state says, we don't like you. Your hair's too long. You drive the wrong kind of car. And then they make it a mission to attack your business, and things go south from there. So when the World Wide Web started coming into play around 97, I jumped all over that. I had a software company for what was called the Y2K epidemic that they thought was going to come, and we did a software product, and we partnered with a lot of big companies like 7-Eleven and Coca-Cola, and we had those CDs like AOL Online used to do back in those days.
Oh, wow.
Um, Partnered with one of the big guys at that time, with Corey Rudel. If any of you know who Corey Rudel is, Internet Marketing Center. He's a legend. So many key guys that are out there right now in internet marketing started from him and his two manuals. And I partnered with him and did a JV with him in 1999 to launch this software product, his list. Unfortunately, Corey loved to race sports cars, and I think around 2006, he was a passenger in a Corvette that crashed at a raceway in Southern California and killed him. Just terrible, terrible tragedy. So 2002, I start coaching, I start getting involved, and I've been online since then. I've had my health and supplement company since 2001, so 17 years now. And I just love working and helping people.
Wow.
So I try to hope that gives you an idea of where I've been.
Sums it up. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. What would you say among all the mentors that you met? I mean, you were around when Zig Ziglar was still doing seminars, I suppose. I only got to meet him through audiobooks and books and stuff like that. So who do you think has been, or maybe more than one person, your greatest mentor, the people that you learned the most from?
Well, I think for mindset and attitude, it was definitely Ziggy. He even started a MLM company as well back in the day. I now see where his son has carried on with his legacy and is doing a lot of different things. But Zig really taught those core principles of taking care of your customers, and now I call them clients because I learned from the great Jay Abraham. And you have that fiduciary responsibility to make sure that your client gets the best service that you can give them. So Zig would have been one very early on for mindset and attitude. And then the other person that I think I've probably learned the most from would be Jay, in how to work with business owners. And that was something that I went through. I got bored really easy as a kid in my early adult life. And so my parents always said when I was younger, you know, the word ADD didn't exist back then, but if it did, they would have said I had ADD, because I always had all these different projects and I never stayed in anything very long. I got bored very quickly. And it was the same thing with businesses or industry or consulting. All through the 80s into the 90s, I went from this one to that one, learning and taking from each one all the things that I've applied later on in life. And that's both the successes and the failures, because I've gone broke. I mean, 10 years ago, I lost my butt doing something because I didn't do enough research to really understand my marketplace. So you learn from those things. And I think you learn even more from the failures than you do from the successes, because sometimes if success comes real easily, you don't know what to do when you have the problems. I read a book by, I don't know if it was Jack Welch, the CEO of General Electric, but it was one of those big Fortune 500 companies back in the 80s or 90s. And he made the statement that he didn't like to hire top level executives unless they'd been bankrupt at least once. Because if they had and they made it back, they knew how to persevere. They didn't give up. They didn't quit trying. And they just kept going because, you know, those are the things that make you who you are and what you are today, are those setbacks. And if you have them and you take and learn from them and apply them, it's only going to make you that much better later on in life.
100%. That's interesting. I mean, most people that I've talked to, most successful entrepreneurs I've spoken to, they've all failed at one point, or many of them have lost it all and then rebuilt it. What do you think has allowed you to do that? And have you done it more than once?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Please share
yes.
some of the lessons so people can get ready for it.
Well, you know, one of the things in it's way different today than it was in the 80s and 90s, obviously. It's, to me, I think it's much more easier to make money today. using the internet because of the reach and the space. Matter of fact, I was listening to the great Frank Kern on a little clip yesterday, talking about that same subject, that the opportunities that we have today to reach this massive amount of people for peanuts
I know.
compared to what we had to do back then is unbelievable. But for me, and you don't really know me that well, but you might be able to figure this out. It came so easy for me that I lived life in the fast lane. I mean, the fast lane through the 80s and 90s,
Mm.
because the money was just astronomical. I mean, going back to the early 80s when I was involved in the gold and silver business, my business, it was nothing to be making 15, 20, $25,000 a month. And now this is a 22-year-old kid in 1982. Even today, that's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
But back then, it was a tremendous amount. So
Yeah.
you learn and you go through that and you say, wow, I'm lucky to have made it out, and to be where I am today. So I'm thankful for that. So that was one of the things I had to learn how to do, is slow down. And I think part of that is I have a son that just turned 19,
Mm.
and I've raised him on my own until I met the lady I'm with now 10 years ago. But prior to that, I homeschooled him myself. Okay. He now runs my agency for me. He's now telling me when I'm screwing up, doing my videos. And I just did a video yesterday, day before, for one of our projects with our supplement company. And the first thing he said, he sends me this long message on Facebook saying, Dad, you did it all wrong. You didn't do this, and you didn't do this, and you didn't pre-frame correctly, and you need to go ahead and set the hook so that they stick around to the end. And I mean, he's 19 years old, and he's telling me, and I went back, and at first I get real defensive. You know what I mean? It's like, what are you talking about? And then I went back and looked. He goes, yeah, you're right. Let me do it all over again. So to me, that's my greatest accomplishment, and that's the thing I'm most appreciative of, is my kid. And that's probably the reason why I had to change almost 20 years ago, because I had the responsibility of raising him, and I couldn't just, I'm just going to keep leading this lifestyle. I had to do it for him.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what's really made me. So the thing I would say is, be patient. The money can come very quick and very fast, but you got to be grounded. And if you're not grounded, you'll burn.
Mm-hmm.
You'll burn. You might get lucky for a while, but you'll eventually burn.
That's right. And you'll end up making decisions, the wrong ones, because of, not being careful, not being grounded, and make wrong decisions with your money, spend it on the wrong things. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'll be the first one to say I did that. I did. But once that responsibility of a baby came, and I'm not saying go out there and have a kid, but that's what it took for me to become that grounded and say, hey, I got to put my feet down and stay planted.
That's
I passed up on many opportunities because of my son. He was even at that first ClickFunnels events. He had just turned 17.
I think I remember. He was there. I think you may have introduced him. I don't really remember what he looked like, but now that you mention it, I think you did introduce him. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know, I guess I could probably say this, but you remember a couple weeks ago that all of a sudden Russell Brunson and his partner did that special webinar about the state of ClickFunnels?
Yeah, I think they're doing that every Friday or so.
Well, my son made the post in ClickFunnels that triggered that.
Oh, really?
He went through it and detailed all these things out, and everybody kept going, oh, they're gonna delete it, they're gonna delete it, they're gonna delete it. And they came back and addressed everything, sent him a PM about it. It was just so cool to me, because that's, like I said, my greatest thing right now is my son and what my son's becoming. Yeah. And so when I see that, when he sat there in that audience at 17, 3 years ago, he said, Dad, I don't get all this stuff. I know I've been going with you to these events since I was 9. I just don't get it. It was like doing it. And now he goes, wow, because he was at the ClickFunnels in Florida. He goes, yeah, I want to be going across stage next year. So that's what we're working on for him right now, is his 2 Comma Club.
Awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
So what do you think are some of the, because you've been in direct sales for a while, I don't know if you have something you want to share in that regard, like some of the things that you may have learned from Jay Abraham, or any marketing secret or strategy that has allowed you to succeed in these businesses, whether it's what triggers people to buy. I don't know. I'm a bit all over the place, but I think you get it.
Yeah, and the thing that I always did is I always wanted to have the very best. I mean, the thing I learned from James Tollison, Kennedy's mentor as well, was never fall in love with your product. It's just a vehicle to the bank. Okay. I may not use Crest toothpaste, he used to say, but if I made 2 cents off every tube, I'd be a rich man. Okay. And I tried to believe that back then, but it never really worked for me. I always wanted to have the very best product. I wanted to have the very best science behind it. I wanted to have the one that could deliver the most results. So those are the things I always looked for in a product or a company, was undisputable credibility, technology, that when I went to sleep at night, I knew that I was doing the best I could for the people I was talking to, the people I was serving. And when you have that attitude and that feeling, you can overcome so much, because it comes through. The passion comes through. Just like I've seen you before when you're there teaching at ClickFunnels and sharing your experience, it comes through because it radiates, because it's every part of your being. If you're only in it for the money, it's very transparent. It shows so easily. Yeah. And can you make a lot of money doing that? Of course you can. Of course you can. So when you find that company, when you find that product, when you find that service, then educate yourself and know everything about it so that it just comes naturally. When it's forced, people can tell it's forced. They can tell you really don't know it, or you really don't believe it, and you're there for the buck. And I think it shows all the time. I mean, in this space that we're in right now, because I'm in the digital space as well, like, you know, I coach companies, and you see it in your feeds, and it's just like, you know, it's just another product they're making just to go through, you know. That's why I was never good at the affiliate stuff, because I'm just not a person that just goes and markets everything that comes down the line. I want to build a real business, and a real business requires a real product or a real service that's going to be here 10, 20 years from today. Okay. No matter whether there's a Facebook, a LinkedIn, a Twitter, a, you know, Instagram, it doesn't matter. You know, you build the business for the long term. And that's one of the things people can become short-sighted in, because the money can come so fast. And that's part of that grounding. Okay. Is understanding why you're doing it, and having, and again, no offense, I was that way 30 years ago. You know, I was that way.
Yeah, so you speak from experience, so that's even more valuable.
Yeah, you know, I want, you know, my company I have today, I've been around 17 years or 18 years, whatever it is, and I'm building that for my son. And he's now working and building it together, and he's got his own projects and his own funnel launch that he's doing with our product for a different niche segment of the marketplace, because it's long lasting. It's never going to go away. And yet, in the company, the supplement company I have now, 65 or 70% of my business is I sell to physicians. I sell to doctors. I don't have to deal with people, because the physician has the credibility with their patient. Here, take this. Yeah. So, but just do the right thing and serve your people with a quality product and a quality service, and don't rush things. Be patient. Everybody wants to get rich tomorrow. It's, you know, it's one of the things I've noticed with, which I think is, when you went to the funnel hacking event, you see some people that, boom, they did it in 30 days or whatever it was. Yeah. You see other people that 6 months or a year, or maybe it's been taking 2 years. Everyone's going to move at their own pace, as long as you're taking that step forward every single day. There's a friend of mine, he owns a big skincare company. He wrote a book called, what the heck is the name of it? Jeff Olson's his name, but anyway, he started, I can't think of the name of the book now, but you know, this quantum leap stuff, and that everything happens overnight. It doesn't. It's about doing a little bit consistently and persistently every single day. Okay. And if you wake up in the morning and you do those things you need to do, and you do it every day, eventually you're going to become that overnight success everybody talks about, because they didn't see the 3 years it took you to get there.
I know.
you know.
Yeah, that's it.
So
That's what really impresses me sometimes. You know, how people still believe that it is overnight. And it's like you were not there. You know, you were not there through all the struggles and you know how long it took. And I always tell people, hey, the first 4 years that I was online, I made nothing. Like
right,
very little. Like it was a big struggle for my first 4 years, right? And then even the 6 years after that, they haven't been so crazy that it would seem overnight. Like
right.
I think patience, consistency, those are keys.
Yeah, the book's called. Excuse me. The
Oh, you
book's called
remember
The Slight Edge. The
the
Slight Edge
slight
by
edge.
Jeff Olson, and he runs $1 billion skincare company. He's been around. I've known him since '95 or something like that. So get it. It's about doing those itty bitty steps every single day. Just little steps every single day.
Excellent. The slight edge. Awesome. I'm gonna get it. I think I heard of it, but I haven't read it. So let's talk about your current company, right? Is this the only company you're running right now? Or you're more focused, or
uh, well, I still do coaching for
sure.
business coaching, obviously, but yeah, the supplement company is my main focus.
So
Definitely.
let's talk about oxygen for life, and how you started it, what motivated you to start it, and of course the product, because it's so. I mean, everything you've shared with me so far, it's amazing.
Right. Well, in '93, I started with a product with a company called Activated Stabilized Oxygen, and it's oxygen drops that you put in water, and it increases the bioavailability of oxygen in the bloodstream. Or you can take it under your tongue, and it's almost immediate like that. We actually still sell that product to you. If you go in the stores right now, a lot of the health food stores, major stores, it's called Oxy Water, I think it is. They just changed the name of it. Anyway, it's on the shelves right now. We sell the actual oxygen that goes in it. So in '93, we sold it to the U.S. Olympic swim teams, the United States Marines, Sherpas climbing Mount Everest, um, all these different groups, because it increased the oxygen in the blood. And at that time, it got into the cells. So fast forward. And the reason why I was very motivated with that product is because a gentleman named Otto Warburg had proven that cancer was caused by a lack of oxygen. And when the cells lose 1/3 of their respiration, they become cancerous and live on sugar from fermentation. Okay. And also that all cancer was cut by that lack of oxygen. So at the cellular level, I missed that part of it. So for until 2005, all I was thinking about is if I get more oxygen into my bloodstream, I'm good. But the part I missed was it's got to get into the cells. So I happened to hear this MIT professor one day on a radio talk show that I listen to all the time talking about it's the lack of oxygen at the cellular level. And I went, whoa, I missed that part for 15 years or whatever it was. And so he had figured out what no one else could based upon the science and the literature, was that the oxygen is in your blood and you can breathe it in. And if you go get tested on a pulse oximeter, you have most people are 96 to 99% oxygen. Otherwise, you're going to be in a hospital with a mask on trying to breathe. But it's getting it into the cells. And the reason why we can't get the oxygen into the cells today is because of the processed foods that we've been eating the last 40 or 50 years. Because in the 1950s, with the invention of the interstate highways here in the United States, the McDonald's started popping up everywhere. The food had to stay consistent. The food had to stay fresh. So when the bread manufacturer makes it, it sits in their warehouse, it gets on a truck, it goes to the store, it's on the store shelf, then you have to get it home. The bread doesn't spoil because the oils that make the bread have been adulterated. That's the trans fats that we've heard about for the last 20 or 30 years that they've finally banned. That's what keeps everything fresh. The problem is that those oils, those cooking oils, they're called linoleic acid or parent omega-6. Those are the oils that are supposed to be in your 100 trillion cells. Okay. Well, if you take an oil that's been adulterated or preservatives are used to make the food last a long time, or if you go take any of the oil on the grocery store shelf, canola oil, safflower oil, sunflower oil. The reason why it doesn't go bad, it's full of preservatives and chemicals to keep it fresh. Then you take that in, and your body doesn't get a non-processed oil in your 100 trillion cells. So therefore, you can't get oxygen from your bloodstream into the cell. It's like having it has a bilipid membrane around. I hope I don't get too technical here on your people, but the oxygen and the nutrients are supposed to go through your cell wall into the mitochondria. Energy is produced, thoughts, things, signals, everything get done. And then the byproduct are the toxins that are generated, and they're supposed to pass back out, get into your bloodstream and your lymphatic system, and then you get rid of them. Well, if you've been ingesting oils that are basically plastic, and so you've got this oxygen and you got this great food and fish or, protein you just ate or whatever, and it gets to that cell and it goes, knock, 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 I want in, but it's plastic, it can't get in. That's what's called insulin resistant, because it can't get into the cell. So what I learned was this was the problem. So he had patented now, an all organic plant seed oil in the correct ratio, both based upon human physiology, of 2.5 to 1 omega-6 to omega-3. And so when your body gets the correct oils, it knows it has the correct oils. And so it will start to replace, because your cells are constantly dying off and being replaced. So now your body's being rebuilt again with the correct oil. It'd be like building the house. And if you didn't use cement or you didn't use enough water, it's all going to fall apart. And that's what's happened in the last 50 years, because no matter how healthy we think we're eating, no matter how much exercise we're doing, the rate of heart disease, cancer, diabetes is at epidemic levels. And I think it was Einstein, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. And that's the problem today, is that so many people, and I'm not saying this in a negative way to those guys that are out there selling products that do this, or they want you to live this lifestyle. That's great if you want to do that. But I always say two things. If it's true, could it be true? And number two, what's the metabolic pathway in which that product works? So if they can't explain to you how, when you take in their product, when you drink their juice, when you do all that kind of stuff, how it's going to help you solve the one problem of keeping oxygen in your cells, then it's smoke and mirrors. Because every medical textbook will tell you all disease and chronic illness is caused by a lack of oxygen at the cellular level. So all you need to do is make sure you're keeping oxygen in the cells. And that's why you're seeing the increase in dementia, Alzheimer's. They're affecting younger and younger people. The rate of autism's gone from 1 in 10,000 to 1 in 50. They think it may get down to 1 in 2 eventually. Just think about that. 1 in 2 people that are born are going to have autism. Do you want to have kids with those odds? Now, why does that happen? Because here's the mom. You have one cell or egg inside of you that gets fertilized. From that one cell, the baby's born, comes out, and then you grow into 100 trillion cells. So the mom is supposed to pass the correct oil from the food she eats that would allow that baby to grow correctly. Instead, the brain's 70% fat. I don't know if most people know that. The brain is 70% fat. So if you were misled by mainstream medical world and all the people out there that said, you can't eat fat, fat makes you fat, don't eat the fat, eat low fat. Your brain's been starving for the correct oils for years. So the baby comes out and the baby's deficient right off the bat with the correct oil to get oxygen and all the nutrients in its brain.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing how they did that war on fat back in, I don't know if it was the 80s or the 90s, that fat was the enemy and they forgot about sugar. And now it's going back to sugar being the enemy, because that's the actual enemy.
Yeah, and see, and the thing was, when I started in the supplement business in the 90s, I used to always think the medical industry was crazy, off the rocker. They didn't know, us guys over here selling supplements, we knew everything. Once I really got into in the mid 2000s and started reading all the medical textbooks, they're spot on.
Yep.
The need for the fat. low sugar, all that stuff's in there. The problem is physicians take one semester generally of nutrition and cellular biology or any of that stuff or biochemistry. And then once they get out, they have a pharmaceutical rep that's coming around telling them, oh, this drug helps this one. No offense to the physician. They're so busy treating symptoms. They don't have time to educate themselves. And they rely upon a pharmaceutical sales rep who's getting paid to sell drugs.
Yeah.
Okay. When it's all in the textbooks. And if you fix this, it fixes all of it, and it's amazing. So it's very life-changing for me, and it's become my passion. That's why I'm really more focused on that, because I'm seeing the people with, let me make my disclaimer. I'm not, I'm not preaching we're going to help you do anything. And, the FDA says I can't talk freely, even though I live in the United States and all the rest of that kind of stuff. But, our patent is as a medicament for the treatment of cancer, diabetes, and heart disease. Okay. We also just finished up some clinicals at the University of Miami with 17 patients that were going to require amputations of limbs. Okay. They were in hyperbaric oxygen chamber with no result, because the number one problem with diabetics is diabetic neuropathy. They lose all feeling in their limbs and eventually they have to be amputated. In 90 days or less, all 17 no longer need an amputation by taking our product. Okay. Wow. We have clinicals going on at MD Anderson Cancer Institute, which is the largest cancer hospital in the world. They also have the largest reconstructive surgery center. 200 patients from all over the world that they're doing reconstructive surgery for bad mastectomies. And the head guy there, who's been the head guy for like 17 years, they're estimating by pre-treating with our oils, just taking the capsules, the recovery times being cut in half from 18 months to 9 months. And when they leave the hospital, they no longer need pain medications.
Beautiful.
Okay. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but it's been proven to reverse all cardiovascular plaque, diabetics, neuropathy. We have the largest pain and migraine center in North America that's successfully treating one of the worst conditions that people don't realize is people that have pain and migraine and pain in the head. Yeah. There's 70,000 people that have pain and migraines for every one physician trying to treat them. And the only answer they have are pain meds, drugs that numb and block that pain. And so we have this for the last 6 years. We had one of the top guys treating all his patients with our product. Yeah. Because it opens up all the capillaries. You have 100 million capillaries in the brain. It opens them all up. No inflammation, no pain. It's like night and day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Most diseases are caused by inflammation, and inflammation is caused by everything you just said.
Right. And when you have inflammation, it robs the body of oxygen.
Yes. Yes.
And our product solves all that. That's why we have a patent.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that. And from my own experience, with my mother, as you know, and some of the people listening, some of them may or may not know that my mother has been with cancer for 6 years now.
Right.
They gave her like 8 months when she was diagnosed in 2012, and there was also only like a 50% chance that even the chemo would work. And all of those things, my dad knew that, but he didn't want to tell us. He told us like a few years later that, oh, you know what? When your mom first started, this is what they said. Because, they would have scared her and all of us. And
right.
Doctors, I have nothing against doctors. They do what they're taught to do. But sometimes, they tend to really scare people when there's really no reason. And I'm so glad that I went online and I discovered natural therapies. I only discovered your oils a couple of years ago, but I discovered that chemotherapy and radiation were not the only solutions to cancer, and I'm so glad I did, because with all the supplements I gave her, all the diet changes that we made, that's really, and the chemo has worked, but in combination with these things, because if not, the chemo would have killed her probably by now. So
absolutely, and it's actually in the journals. And when you have that cancer, you either have to shrink it to where if it's small enough it goes away, which we've seen that happen, or you have to use radiation or chemo or cut it out. But here's what Warburg proved. And if those of you that want to know, Dr. Otto Warburg, MD, PhD, Nobel Prize winning physician. He was a German, but he was Jewish during the time of Hitler.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Nothing he ever published has ever been reversed in 100 years. He did experiments 100 times. It had to come out the same every time. Um, and so what he proved was when your cells lose 35%, they become cancerous. You can't turn back a cancerous cell. So when you have someone that's benign, everyone goes, oh, it was benign. It wasn't cancer. It only means that the oxygen deprivation wasn't to that 35%.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Once it goes below 35%, the cells become stupid. They're idiots. And they just start multiplying because you don't die of cancer. You die because the tumor just starts growing so big that it cuts off vital organs or blood flow or your ability to breathe or what have you. So if you pre-treat someone that's going to do chemo radiation, because when they dose it like that, the surrounding tissue more than likely is almost to that 35% level. The tumor is definitely at 35% less. The surrounding tissue is somewhere between 0 and 35. And that's why the cancer comes back, generally speaking, whether it's 5, 10, 20 years later, because the surrounding tissue was almost there, but not quite. So if you pre-treat with the oils to raise the oxygen levels in all your surrounding tissues, you can actually go through the chemo and the radiation and be much more healthy, have more energy, and ensure that the surrounding tissue stays above that 35% level. And that's actually on the American Cancer Institute's website, and it's been published in all the journals. But again, the cancer doctors don't read any of it.
No, no, and in fact, for them, diet, and it's crazy, but for them, diet has no influence in disease. And I've had several doctors say that to me. Like, I have a friend who is a doctor, and I avoid, because we're really good friends, with childhood friends, so I avoid talking about this stuff with him because it creates conflict because he doesn't get it. Like, for him, it's, oh, you have this disease, okay, this is the drug. You have this headache, this is the drug.
Right.
And that's unfortunately how they've been taught. And they would tell my mother, imagine every time I've seen my mom at the cancer center getting her treatment, we walk out of there and we see children with cancer, which is so sad, sucking on lollipops that the doctor himself gave them a lollipop. And I'm like, why?
It's so sad to see that. My brother-in-law he had a cardiac attack. It wasn't a heart attack, but anyways, so he went into the hospital, and he's younger than I am. And they said, well, you're borderline diabetic. And so we went in there to visit him one time, and they bring his breakfast in. It's like orange juice and cereal. And, it's like they don't want him to have I go, are you kidding me? This all is nothing more than sugar, which is the root cause of the diabetes to begin with. They don't get it. They don't read a textbook. Just so you know, every 5 grams of carbohydrates is a teaspoon of sugar. Okay. Here's the amazing number. If you have more than 3/4 of a teaspoon of sugar in your blood at any one time, you're diabetic.
Wow.
And yet they told us, going back to what you said earlier, this don't eat the fat, eat the grains, 60% carbohydrate diet. That was the food pyramid here in the United States. You may not have been exposed to it down in Chile, but anyway, they had this food pyramid. 60% was supposed to come from carbs.
Yep.
Of a 2,000 calorie diet, that's 60 teaspoons of sugar a day. And you're only supposed to have 1, or you're diabetic.
Crazy.
And it's no wonder kids bounce off walls when they go to school. Orange juice, toast, cereal, and they're going crazy because they got all this sugar in their body. They got to do something with it.
Mm-hmm. And they give them drugs to numb them, and it's
a vicious cycle. And so that would be one more thing I'd say: educate yourself. You just got to stay educated, and not just because it's on Google. I mean, really educate yourself. Look at more places. Look, find both sides of the equation, and then again, ask yourself that question: if it's true, could it be true?
You got it. Yeah. So I love your passion about the topic. I've also become very passionate about it. So You know, I love sharing this with people because the science backs it up. You know, it's not placebos, it's not, you know, just positive thinking. There's science behind it. So,
Well, and here's a way that you really know. So our product comes in two forms, and so we have the capsules here, and one bottle is good for an average 160-pound person. But then we also make it in a liquid form, which I think this is what we sent to your mom.
yes.
Right? Okay. So this is really good for people that are vegans or vegetarians, have religious reasons for not wanting to ingest the capsule. For young kids under the age of 2, I've had them as young as a year old. Parents, they need it. It's your building blocks for your body.
Wow.
Or people that are seniors that can't take pills. This is the exact same product for pets. Dogs and cats basically have the same physiology as a human, and so do most animals right now. So if you have a dog or a cat, give it to your dog or cat. What's happened today is that in the mid 2000s, the food manufacturers for pets started adding all these grains and rice protein and all the rest of this crap in there. And they literally created an epidemic of cats with leukemia because cats don't have a pancreas. They can't process sugar. They're killing your pets. Dogs, and when you give it to a dog, if you have an older dog that can't run very well or limps, add a quarter of a teaspoon. Within 3 or 4 days, your dog will be running and jumping like crazy. They don't, like you said, they don't know a placebo. It either works for them in their joints or it doesn't.
True.
I have this is a great story. So Northwest Canada, this couple was already buying our product. I have this huge religious organization worldwide that buys it for their members. And he runs a llama and alpaca farm, like a rescue mission, like we have it here in the United States for horses where people abandon them and they take them in. Well, I guess at one time, alpaca skin or the furs were very popular to make clothing out of.
Yep.
Okay. And when the market dropped, everyone abandoned him. So this guy was a veterinarian. They took him and his wife came over. They have, 40 or 60 acre farm up there to raise alpacas. And he said, Mike, we've been giving them to the alpacas. And he says, you're not going to believe the changes
Wow.
in their stature and their ability. He says, let me tell you a funny story. He says, we had this alpacas. I didn't know when they actually sit on their feet kind of bend backwards so they can sit down. And this one had creaky joints. So when he walked, he creaked all the time. And they had a blind alpaca. Okay. Well, the blind alpaca would follow the other one around because they could hear the joints creaking. And after a month on this product right here, the one alpaca's joints didn't creak anymore. They had to tie a cowbell around the other alpaca so that the blind one would know where it was in the pen.
Wow.
That's how you know this stuff works. When an animal responds and has no idea you put it in their food.
Wow. And even without changing the animal's diet, it has this result?
Yep, absolutely. You can't see him right now. I have a 15-year-old my little Shih Tzu over there. And he's 15. And where I live right now, I'm in the low desert, the Palm Springs area. So it's 105, 110 during the daytime. He's out running all over the place. Wow. And he's 15. Most dogs that, we run into 7-year-olds that don't have his energy. You just put a little bit in. He also gets no carbs. He eats nothing but protein. Because we don't want the sugar. And your animal will notice in 3 to 7 days, your animal will notice a difference if it's got any type of problems at all.
Wow, that's awesome. No, I love it because I've had 2 dogs that have died of cancer, and it's like massive cancer, like huge tumors, and you wonder, why is a dog supposed to have cancer? Like, they don't worry about stuff and they don't eat. It's what they eat.
It's what they eat. It's all what they eat. And that's the thing that just bugs me so bad. And I'll admit it here. That's why I won't donate to any of those cancer funds or people that raising money for cancer and this and that, because it does no good. It's smoke and mirrors and somebody's getting rich. And, I just, that was our main focus with this product with the professor 10, 12 years ago. And he dealt with so many oncologists. Matter of fact, one of my best client is one of the top female oncologists in the world. She's appeared on that remember Ty Bollinger, the guy that did the cancer for the dogs?
Truth About Cancer.
The Truth About Cancer. Well, the very first Truth About Cancer for People, she's one of the female doctors that's on there. I ship every single month 6 cases of my product there without fail. This is automatic for her patients, Southern California. But the pets, I mean, that's another thing. You're poor, and you don't know. I mean, you think you're doing well and you're feeding your animal the best that you can, but unless you take the time to educate yourself to know the carbs are horrible for them, they're carnivores, they need protein, they need meat, and they need the right oils. And when you do, those dogs and cats used to live to 20, 21, 22 years old. Now you're lucky to get 1 to 14, all because of the diet. And that's what's happened to us.
Yeah.
That's what's happened to us.
Crazy.
You know?
That's crazy. Yeah. So are you working on any other product, or is it 100% focused on the oils, or is there anything else?
100% on the oils. We're going into a new niche that we have all the clinical data on and everything else that's huge. As they say, find the big pain market out there and go. That's probably been one of the hardest challenges for me with my product, because it can be used for so many things within the body, whether you have pain and migraine headaches, cardiovascular disease, cancer, neuropathy. You want muscles, more, endurance. For women, PMS, hormones are all created out of this oil right here is what makes up female hormones. Wow. Men with erectile dysfunction, lack of blood flow, lack of oxygen. So there's so many niche markets, places that I can take this product into. It's just a matter of where, which one do I want to go into? Yeah. That's why I like to deal with doctors, because doctors, again, it's almost like doing a JV. Let me go do a joint venture with someone who's already got a list of a product. Well, I just go to a doctor who's already got 3,000 patients.
Exactly.
And they get it and they go, okay, here, all you guys got to buy it. I don't have to sell it.
That's beautiful.
So, no, this is my passion. This is my golf game.
I love it. And I'm after the interview, I'm gonna order some more, because.
And by the way, I have so any one of your listeners, you included, at checkout, if you use the code Carolina with a capital C, you'll get a 10% discount on your order.
Awesome.
And if you're in a country where it doesn't allow you, just send us an email and we'll get it taken care of so that you can order. Because there's a lot of, we just don't program it because I don't market there. But I know you have such a big reach worldwide that there may be people from all over. So I'll do anything I can. But again, it's Carolina, your name, with a capital C.
Yes.
You get 10% off on your order.
Excellent. Thank you, Mike. So where can people order? The URL is Oxygen.
Oxygen, the number 4, life.com.
Oxygen4life with the number 4.com. Amazing.
And you have 2 choices, capsules or liquids.
Liquids. And they have the same effect. It's just a different
All
dose.
Exactly the same. There's no
dosage.
Difference.
Excellent.
Yep.
Love it. Anything, already, we're almost an hour now.
Wow.
Because we love the topic. We're passionate about marketing. We're passionate about health. That's also why I wanted to have you on the show so much, because I knew you would bring a lot of value to the table. And, so many people are focused on working hard and hustling and all of that, and they forget about their health. And if you don't have your health, okay, money is not going to do anything.
And the good thing about it, you're right. And I'm at that point, at my age, that I'm trying to not work as much and enjoy life more. But again, I have a 19-year-old that's pushing me, so I'm doing that for him. But when you have the right, I haven't been sick in years and years and years and years, because when you have all this oxygen, when you have a healthy immune system, things don't affect you. Or if you start to get a cough, it may last for a day, and I see so many people today, and this is kind of sad, because I see people that tout certain things online about this product or their product or this, and it seems like they're always sick. I don't know what that is. It's like, how can you tell me this, what you're taking is great, but you're always sick? No offense, but I would, and that's that part of, do some more research, check some more things out. Because it'd be like a marketer that can't, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a good analogy, but you know what I'm saying? It's like a marketer that, I saw someone post about the other day, I'm going to teach you how to get all the leads you can get, but I don't know how to get my own leads, something along
Exactly.
those. If you can't stay healthy or in shape. And that's the other thing I want to also throw out there. And I'm kind of maybe going off a tangent here, but just because somebody is thin or skinny or has lots of muscles does not determine the health of the individual on the inside. Okay. It's all about cellular health that we can't see. So you have to understand how it works. And then that's how you solve that problem. There was a gentleman in the late 70s that wrote a book called, I think it was late 70s, called The Art of Running or something like that. He was a cardiologist, 49 years old. His name was Jim Fix. He used to do 20 marathons a week. He dropped dead of a heart attack running in the park one day at 49. So, it's cellular health. It's not the outward appearance, because I'm sure every one of you watching or listening has had a skinny friend that gets sick, and they've had an overweight friend that gets sick, or they have vice versa that don't get sick. It's cellular health. It's the most critical thing. It's all about that cell.
Yes, all about the cell. That's right. Love it. So, Mike, thank you so much. I'm so grateful for our conversation today. And I think people learned a lot today about health, about oils, about getting the right oils in their bodies. Absolutely love it. And as you all know, you can go to oxygenforlife with the number 4.com. Use my name with a capital C, and you'll get a 10% discount. Thank you so much for that. I didn't even ask for it, so thank you.
I know you did. It's okay. That's what I'm saying. I serve. I'm trying to over-deliver.
I love it.
Your people are going to take the time to listen to it. I'm going to appreciate and respect their time to listen to me ramble here.
Yes, you certainly have over-delivered. Thank you so much. And I don't know if there are any final words you would like to leave us with.
Well, the only thing I would say is, if you're on Carolina's list, listen to this young lady. She loves helping people. I've seen it. I've seen the passion. I saw where she was 3 years ago, where she is today. It was awesome seeing you at the last Funnel Hacking Live and having your tables coming around and you teaching people. It's awesome. It was really, really cool. And I'm glad we reconnected in the lobby before we left.
Yes, that was great, because I don't think we ran into each other that much. There were so many people.
So many people. Right. So otherwise we wouldn't have seen each other.
Yes.
So
yes.
I'm glad. So thank you very much. I appreciate you guys that are listening in. Thank you. And if you have any questions, you can email me as well.
Yes, I was going to ask you if people want to contact you, what's the best way to reach you?
Mike@oxygenforlife.com.
Mike@oxygenforlife.com. All right. So thank you so much again, Mike.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right.
Appreciate you. Thank you from the heart. Yes.
Thank you so much.
And hope to see you again very soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.